Good evening, everyone. That's Hi, everybody. It's Charlie here. I'm doing my weekly check-in. So, what happened this week? Well, I worked a little bit on this character here. I kind of picked that one out because Janine picked her named creature. Thanks, Janine, again for that. I think what I'll probably show you on here a little bit is what these different versions what I'm kind of toying with as far as finishing this out, what I might be doing with the eyes, and why I need to, I think, go for this vectorized version. Even though I feel like I'm gonna miss the organic texture of this middle one, but that'll be very limiting for animating, and I'd really like to do the eyes kind of opening up and some cool stuff with that. So let's take a look. So I've got these three guys set up right now in Illustrator. This is the image as it came in, and to bring it in here, I just brought it into Photoshop, and what I initially started with is in Photoshop. I just kind of boosted the levels and made the paper kind of disappear into whiteness, and then I just painted in, with my stylus pen, some of this shading on this guy, just kind of briefly. It's still sort of a sketch, and so then that's sort of that version. What I'm gonna want to do, though, like I mentioned, is get these eyes to open up, and so it became necessary for me to have some vectors to work with, and so I just went in and basically. I had this file on top of it for reference. I've moved it since then, but they were lined up before, roughly something like this. And so it was sort of the original drawing was kind of transparent on top of there, and I was just drawing in all of the shapes. You can kind of see me on the right-hand side as the layers are being enabled. Different pieces are showing up. So if you look a little closer in this layers panel to the right, I did have to split this up into a number of different layers, and that's going to allow me to have a lot better control. That's going to give me the ability to use puppet pins in After Effects and have everything separated so that it moves more the way that I want it to. I'm building a puppet here essentially. So if I build up from the bottom, I can show you how this breaks down. First, there's the stalk, which is really just his neck there, right? So you draw it in the neck, and then each arm. The way I set that up is that I just have a left arm, and a left arm branch kind of goes in front of it, so that had to be its own layer. And then I have the right arm, and the right arm branch is just another extra little piece there. So here's sort of just a background for the head. I just needed something that would just cover everything for whatever might peek through or poke through between the other parts of the, not the other farts of the face, the other parts of the face. And so that head background there. And then here is the eyeballs, which will be underneath of the eyelids. And the eyelids kind of cover up on top of there. And, of course, then I have a separate element for his brow, and that'll be to cover sort of the eyebrow area and these little trees that come out of the top, and also the forehead. And then I called this other layer mug. That's like his, just the rest of his face. It's this nose and mouth area. I'm not going to be having him speak or say anything, and so that's just all kind of one piece. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. Then of course it's a little creepy without the eyeballs. I thought that'd be fun if they were different colors, kind of like a husky or something. So that's kind of a layer breakdown. And I think it might be next week by the time I show you this in After Effects. But I wanted to show it to you why the vectors, what those are and what that means and why I had to do it that way. So if I zoom in a little bit here, I can select some of these shapes in the right eyelid. And it's the eyelids that I really needed the vectors for. You can see it's pretty hard to see with this dark green that the layer is set to right now. So maybe I can change that to a bright cyan. Should be more visible. So you can see that the eyelid is now, instead of just being pen strokes that are drawn onto paper and then scanned in, these are actually mathematically defined points on the X and Y axis, X being left and right and Y being up and down, on the X and Y axis of this artboard. And you can move them around. These tangent lines that come out each side, those allow me to control the angle of the curve. And it was important for me to have that because in After Effects, I'll be able to grab a bunch of these points and I'll be able to move them around. So like as the eyelid opens, they'll probably move out a little bit or a lot. And as this whole eyelid closes, I'll end up rearranging them into a closed eyelid. Of course, there's a lot of shapes that I'm going to be working with here. It's going to be not too terribly burdensome because I drew them in a way where each shape is defined by relatively few points. Like this one here, that's only 5 or 6 points. If I had drawn this using the pencil tool, which I just opened up right now, I could have drawn a whole shape like this in just a tremendous amount of detail, and it would have looked more like the hand-drawn organic texture that I really wanted. But look at all those points. When we zoom out, it's like it's a pretty cool looking shape, but that's just impossible. Every time I needed to move something, I'd have to select and move all of these. If I had to scale it at all, they'd all get tangled up in each other. It's just so important to keep the point count as low as you can. And so I drew all this in fact, with the pen tool. So instead of just freehand drawing, you are lining up these tangents methodically and kind of more mathematically. And it just works much better for this type of thing. So that's the prep on this one. I think I'm not sure what kind of scenario I will place him in yet. I might rob some of the assets from the Wooden Man of that intro video, and I'll have some more to show you about the Wooden Man pretty soon too. I'm going to kind of demonstrate F-curves a little bit with that one. It's a real simple one to show that to you with, so stay tuned for that. We'll have lots more exciting things to come in here in the Creature Pit. Okay, yeah, so that's what I got for this week. Sorry, it's a little brief, but maybe then I'm not overwhelming you with technical information. Another little announcement is that some details still to be worked out, but it looks like I'll have some pieces up in the Ordoc in the month of June. And maybe, possibly, we don't really know for sure, I'm knocking on wood here, maybe they'll project some animations. Still to be worked out, though. I don't want to count on that. So that's all kind of exciting. I'll have more to announce about that next week. And thanks for checking in. Bye.